Hello and welcome to another video. Have you ever stumbled over your words during a meeting? Or found typos in an email after hitting send? In this video, I've handpicked 20 of the most common English mistakes that I see most often in my own students' work emails and from what I observe during their conversations. So if any of these mistakes seem familiar to you, you're not alone. Once we look at these common mistakes and show you how to correct them with easy tips, you'll be better equipped to communicate more clearly and confidently in the workplace. If you know a mistake that you or others make, tell us in the comments. Sharing helps everyone learn. Okay, ready? Let's get into it. In the office, clear communication is key, and that includes using your and your correctly. Your means something belongs to you, like your agenda or your office. Your is shorthand for you are, such as when we say you're responsible or you're advancing. Consider an email that states you're responsible for the new account. This is a frequent mistake. It should read you're responsible for the new account, because it means you are. Simple as that. By using the correct form, you're responsible for the new account, your message gains clarity and professionalism. Navigating there, and there can be tricky, yet mastering their use is crucial for clear workplace communication. There shows ownership, as in a team's achievement. I've read their report and it's excellent. There points to a location. Let's move the meeting over there, where it's quieter. There is shorthand for they are, often preceding an action or state. They're attending a trade show next week. Now consider a colleague is directing you to office equipment. If you heard their new printer is over there next to the supplies cabinet, you'd likely be puzzled. So let's correct it. It should be the new printer is over there next to their supplies cabinet, clearly indicating location and ownership. The right word choice eliminates confusion, guiding everyone effortlessly to the printer and supplies. Handling quantities is a common part of our work, and it's essential to use fewer and less correctly. Fewer refers to things we can count, like employees or clients, projects even. Less is for unaccountable concepts, such as time, money, or space. Let's look at a common mix-up. Your boss says, we need less employees in our meeting to save time. Sounds off, right? It should be, we need fewer employees in our meetings to save time, because employees are individuals that can be counted. If you hear, this project requires less milestones, it's time to tweak the phrase. The correct version is, this project requires fewer milestones, since milestones are countable. Nailing this detail reflects your precision, a trait that's highly valued in any professional environment. Okay, let's clear up a word that sometimes pops up at work but actually isn't a word we should use. Irregardless. It might sound official, but regardless is the correct term that we want to use. Think of irregardless as a word that got dressed up with too many layers. It's trying to say no twice, which we don't need. We just need to say it once, and that's what regardless does. It means something like no matter what, or even so. Let's say your team is discussing plans for expanding. If someone says, irregardless of the budget, we will hire 2 new team members, it sounds off. What we mean to say is, regardless of the budget, we will hire 2 new team members. This tells everyone that hiring is a priority no matter the budget situation. So, when we choose regardless, we're making our sentences neat and clear, just like a well-organized desk. It's the word that makes sure everyone gets the point without any confusion. Now, here's a pair that trips up many of us: affect and effect. It's easy to mix these up since they sound so similar. But remember, affect as a verb is about the action that influences something, while effect as a noun is the outcome or result of a change. Let's look at these examples. If we say, implementing this software will affect our workflow, we mean that the software will change the way we work. But when we say the effect of the new software on our workflow is noticeable, we are talking about the changes we can see after the software is used. It's important to use the right word so everyone knows what we mean. Let's say we're looking at a report. If the sentence reads, the effect on sales was significant, it's not quite right. It should be, the effect on sales was significant, showing us the result of a strategy or action on the sales numbers. So, affect as a verb is about the action of making a change happen, while effect as a noun is about the change that happened. Both are important, but using the right one helps everyone understand exactly what you mean. Another common mix-up is between me and I. Use I when you're the one doing something. Use me when something is being done to you, or you're the object of the action. Here's an example. In a conversation, you might say, I completed the project ahead of schedule. You did the action, so I is correct. But if you hear, can you send the report to John and I? That's not right. It should be, can you send the report to John and me? Because the report is being sent to you, not by you. You're receiving the action, which is why me is the correct choice. Getting me and I right makes a big difference in how polished your language sounds. It's like wearing the right outfit for the right occasion. It shows you know the rules and can play the part professionally. Apostrophes can be tricky. They tell us when something belongs to someone, like in Jenny's laptop, or when we squish words together, like don't for do not. A common mix-up is with it's and its. Remember, it's with an apostrophe means it is or it has. Without the apostrophe, its shows something belongs to it. Imagine you're checking the weather. If you write, it's going to rain today, it seems like it's owns something. But what you mean is, it's going to rain today, as in it is. Now, picture the team winning a game. Saying the team celebrated its victory is incorrect because its should be its to show the victory belongs to the team. Remember, if you can replace it with it is or it has, use an apostrophe. If you're showing ownership, skip the apostrophe. It's as simple as that. Now for lose and loose. One has to do with not being able to find something, and the other describes something that's not tight or fixed in place. Mixing up lose with loose is a slip-up that can cause confusion. Lose is what happens when you can't find something, like losing your keys. Loose is when something is not tightly held or fastened, like a loose tooth. Let's say your company is worried about a client. The correct statement would be, if we don't act now, we might lose the contract, not loose. And if you're putting together furniture, you'd say the screw is loose, meaning it needs tightening, not loose. So, to keep it straight, loose is when something is missing, and loose is when something needs tightening up. A little attention to detail goes a long way in keeping our words in check. Let's tackle a common mix-up using then when we should use than. Than is for making comparisons, while then is about the order of events. When you say our service is better than theirs, you're actually talking about time, not comparing. Imagine you're praising your team's hard work. You tell a customer, our service is better than theirs. It sounds like you're saying after their service, ours comes along. But you mean to compare, so it should be our service is better than theirs, showing our service is superior. So use than to compare things. Our coffee is hotter than theirs, and then to talk about time. We'll have a coffee and then we'll start the meeting. Keep them straight and your meaning won't get lost in the mix. Next up is choosing between which and that. That introduces information you can't do without, whereas which adds extra information and is often followed by a comma. Saying the reports which are late need to be finished could be a little vague. It might need that to clarify. Let's say you're the boss and you're talking about some reports. If you say the reports which are late need to be finished, it sounds like all the reports are late and you're just adding information. But if the late reports are the only ones you mean, you should say the reports that are late need to be finished. Now everyone knows exactly which reports you're talking about. Remember, if the details are crucial, use that. If you're just adding more information, go with which. It's like giving directions with a map. The clearer you are, the less likely people will get lost. Let's demystify two often confused words: compliment and complement. They sound similar but have entirely different meanings. Perhaps you are in a team meeting and you say your skills complement the team. You might sound like you're praising the team's skills, but what you really mean is that the skills are a good match. Suppose you have a colleague who's great at design and another who's good with numbers. You want to say your skills complement each other, highlighting how well they work together, not complement, which would imply they're praising each other. Remember, compliment is like giving someone a verbal high five, while compliment is like cheese and wine, a perfect pairing. Clichés are tired, worn-out phrases that can make our speech and writing feel a bit lazy. Relying on phrases like, at the end of the day, we need to think outside the box, can make your message sound stale. Instead of falling back on, at the end of the day, which is as overused as an old doormat, try saying ultimately. And instead of thinking outside the box, talk about finding innovative solutions. It's like swapping a faded poster with a colourful painting. So, steer clear of clichés. Think of them as the fast food of language. Convenient, but not very nourishing. By contrast, original expressions are like a home-cooked meal. They take more effort, but are much more satisfying. Double negatives can unintentionally make your sentences confusing and difficult for people to understand. If you say, I can't find no file on this issue, you're actually suggesting you can find a file because the two negatives cancel each other out. Imagine you're lost and you say, I don't need no map. It sounds like you're saying you do need a map because the don't and no cancel each other out. Instead, I don't need a map is clear and straightforward. Think of double negatives like clutter in a room. They make it really hard to see what you're trying to say. Clear them out and your message is like a tidy space with everything in its place. Now let's dive into the adverbs very and really. You might think they strengthen your sentences, but often they do the complete opposite. These words are so commonly used that they can dilute the impact of what you're trying to say. They're like faded colours in a painting, too familiar to stand out. Instead of saying very interesting, which might not say much, fascinating brings a colourful touch to your sentence. It's a word that really paints a picture and sparks curiosity. When you say, this report is very good, it's a bit understated. Now, if you say, this report is excellent, it's like giving your words a boost that makes the compliment shine. Excellent is a powerful word that truly expresses strong approval. Instead of calling a meal very tasty, you can say it's delicious. And instead of, she's really smart, she's brilliant, tells us even more about her intelligence. So next time you're tempted to use very or really, pause and find a single, more powerful word. It's like trading a small flashlight for a spotlight. Remember, it's is always a contraction for it is or it has, while its is the possessive form of it, indicating ownership. When you mistakenly jot down, it's been a long day, you're skipping the apostrophe that combines it has into its. The correct phrase is, it's been a long day, which tells us that the day has indeed stretched out. It's just like saying, it's time for lunch, where it's neatly stands in for it is. So think of it's like a key that opens the door to it is or it has. And it's is likely a label on something that says, this belongs to it. Accept is when you agree to take something, like accepting a gift. Accept is when you're leaving something out, like everyone except Bob is going to the party. When you write, I will accept your invitation, it's as if you're leaving someone out of your plans. However, what you mean to say is, I will accept your invitation, indicating that you're welcoming the offer with open arms. It's the difference between including and excluding something or someone. So, accept is like opening your arms to receive something, while accept is like putting up a little fence to keep one thing out. Advise is the action you take when you're giving a suggestion. Think of it as something you do. Advice is the actual suggestion or recommendation that you give to someone. It's what you offer. When you say, he gave me a good advice, you're using the verb form incorrectly. The correct statement is, he gave me good advice, where advice is the information or recommendation you received. Similarly, when you're seeking someone's guidance and say, can you advise me on this issue? You've mistakenly used the noun form. Instead, ask, can you advise me on this issue? To use the correct verb for requesting guidance. So remember, advise with an S is the verb, like when you advise someone on what to do. Advice with a C is the noun, the actual recommendation you offer or receive. Just like device is something you use and devise is something you do. Keep them straight and you'll be giving and getting good advice in no time. Jargon. It's like a secret code that only certain people understand, often used in specific jobs or industries. It can be really confusing to others who aren't in the know. When you say, "We'll need to onboard the stakeholders by end of day," it can be confusing because of the uncommon words. A simpler way to say this is, "We need to welcome the people involved with the project before the day is over." This uses easier words and is clearer to understand. Choose clear words like the ones on a road sign, making sure everyone understands the direction without needing a map. We often hear who and whom getting mixed up. Remember, who refers to the subject, the person doing something. Whom is for the object, the person something is done to. Let's say you're assigning tasks for a project. In everyday conversation, you might hear, "Who should I send these documents to?" This is commonly accepted, especially in spoken English. However, in formal writing or when following traditional grammar rules, it should be, "To whom should I send these documents?" The whom is the object of the preposition to. So, at a casual gathering, when you're curious about the attendees, you'd typically ask, "Who is coming to the party?" But in a very formal setting, such as a written invitation, you might find, "To whom do we send the invitations?" Who is like the person carrying the baton, and whom is like the person receiving it. Understanding the difference between who and whom will help you convey your message with precision, whether you're speaking casually or writing formally. The word literally is often used when people want to stress a point, but it should only be used when something is actually true and not to make things sound more dramatic than they are. Imagine you have a lot of work and you tell your co-worker, "This report is literally killing me." You don't mean it's really ending your life. You're just very stressed. So it's clearer to say, "This report is really stressing me out." In the office, if your computer takes a long time to start and you say, "My computer is literally taking ages to boot up," it's an overstatement unless it's actually taking years. Instead, you could say, "My computer is taking a really long time to start." Remember to save literally for when things are exactly as you say. For example, if everyone left the office and you're the only one left, you can say, "I'm literally the last person in the office." This helps keep your words clear and meaningful. And there you have it, your quick guide to avoiding the 20 top English hiccups at work. By steering clear of these, you're on your way to more polished and impressive English. Keep practicing, stay curious, and embrace those little hiccups as steps to greatness. Your journey to better English doesn't have to end here. Click subscribe, ring that bell, and keep the learning alive. Every mistake is a lesson, and every lesson brings you closer to mastery. And remember to join in the conversations below. What's the error that always catches you out?